Good morning, everyone, and welcome to another edition of Coffee with Casey. I'm going a cappella today, solo. We've got agents out doing a lot of things. So, we haven't had a chance to sit around and talk for a while. I've had guests on about Coffee with Casey for the financial edition. We had a financial planner on, Tom Clark. He was awesome. In fact, his views when we did that show were 10 times higher than any show that we've ever done. So that was really nice. Then, of course, all our trees blew down, so I had in an arborist who talked about, how you take care of your trees and, what's the predictability of these things going down. But today we're going to kind of settle down and first of all celebrate the fact that Easter is here and gone. We're full-fledged spring now. We'll talk about the spring market, talk about a lot of things you need to do in the spring market. But first, before we do that, it's opening day for the Nats today. And we're going to be at the game. So, brief story, Nats story. And you can go get your cup of coffee right now if you want, but this is pretty dang funny. So, Bernie Kagan, one of our top agents, he is a Nats, home ticket, season ticket holder for a long, long time. So, Bernie has this annoying habit that if you go to the game and you're sitting behind him, he always looks at you and goes, if you just worked a little harder, you could be sitting up here where I'm sitting, Very annoying. So every time I go to the game, we make sure we get tickets in front of Bernie, right? So we can turn around and give him a hard time about not working hard enough, and if he did, he could come up and sit where we are. So Carol and I go to opening day and 2 years ago, and we get on the fifth row. I mean, when Bryce Harper sneezes, I could say, God bless you, and he'd look at me and say, thank you. That's how close we were. So I turn around and look for Bernie because I'm really going to rub it in. I'm fifth row. And Bernie's gone. He's out of his seats. And then all of a sudden I hear on the loudspeakers his name, Bernie Kagan. And I look up on the board, right, on this board, and this Bernie's ugly face up there. And they're saying, for these season ticket holders, thank them very much. They gave them front row seats. So for this game, I'm fifth row, and Bernie is literally right behind the home plate. So the whole game, I'm kind of looking like this, hoping he doesn't see us and all that. So anyways, last year we do it again. We get in front of him. Bernie's behind us. We're giving him a hard time for, not working hard enough, and we're in front of him. And then all of a sudden, as we're coming out like a herd of cattle after the game, they hold us up and let the cars come out that are in the VIP parking. Third car out, it's Bernie. And it was a Seinfeld moment where I saw, as the car came out, I was like, parking. Boom. I felt like Seinfeld, where he accuses the one doctor who's a dermatologist of being a pimple popper or whatever he calls her. And then guy walks up and goes, thanks for saving my life. And he goes, skin cancer. Oh. So that was my moment. So today, again, I got Uber dropping me off in the front, picking me up when I'm done, and sitting in front of Bernie. So, barring something, it's going to be a great day. Go out and watch Bryce Harper hit a couple bombs. And hopefully Zimmerman can drive in a few runs. So anyways, let's get on to what's been happening out here. And, it's been a weird spring. Some markets are doing very well. Some markets are not doing well at all. Inventory is low. But the weird thing about it is inventory is low. But if you put your house on the market a little overpriced, you'll hear crickets. These are, the only thing I can categorize them as extremely smart buyers. If I say 725, it's 725. It's not 775. If you put it on for 775, you're going to hear crickets, and it's going to take a while for this to sell. So, most of our houses are all selling within that first weekend. And the question of the week, or the question of the month or week or something on the Sun Gazette, which all the top producers, they ask us questions, is do schools have that big of an effect on houses? And let me explain how big an effect that really is. So we put a house on Falls Church on the market at $850,000, which is high for that kind of market over there, but the home was redone. I felt it was going to get maybe bid up to $875,000. It's in a really top school, the Haycock School in Falls Church Elementary School. There were 60 people came through the house, 40 people came through the open house. We must have had 7 or 8 contracts. And I can't disclose the price that they eventually got, but it was massive. I mean, I couldn't even believe where the prices came in on that. And I'm going to tell you that the keys to this market out here are you cannot have a house that's not in good condition. If you do, they're going to take a buy. Today's buyers are not in a mood to fix up a house. They're not frontiersmen. They don't want to do painting. In other words, if you have a list of things to do on a house, the longer that list is, the more buyers are going to walk away. If you have very few things on the list, all buyers are in, all buyers are ready to go. I mean, a lot of times the husband and wife work to make enough money to buy these houses, which means they have very limited time for them and their families. They don't want to spend it fixing up a house. So we don't have a lot of fixer-uppers out here in the market, okay? So let's, when we throw it on the market, we have to make sure we're priced correctly. And I'm going to talk about that a little bit later on in the show. Very serious conversation about that, although I'm going to smile. But it is serious because there's, you can either lose $10,000, $15,000, or you can make $50,000 or $60,000, and the difference is how we do the pricing. Okay, so we'll talk about that today. But sorry about the hottest towns. I did a look at the hottest towns in Northern Virginia. Who's selling the most, and how do I dictate where the hot town is? Take the houses on the market. What percentage of those are under contract? Okay, so if 10 houses are on the market and 6 houses are under contract, that's an awesome market. But if 10 houses are on the market and 2 are under contract, that is a very weak market. So, what I did was I went through and ranked all the towns. The number one town, strongest town right now is Oak Hill, which is 20171. We do a lot of work in Oak Hill. Those things are flying off the shelf. Here again, we have one on there. It was not priced correctly. We needed to get it into a certain number, and it sat. So even though this market was the hottest market in Northern Virginia, still, unless you price it correctly, it will not sell. So, you still have to be cognizant of that. So Herndon came right behind them, their sister communities. Burke was at 55%. Ashburn, by the way, Oak Hill's at 62%. And then you come down all the way down. Vienna's at 41%. So 41% is just barely, it's a neutral market. A little bit surprised, usually it's a stronger market. So I went back and I ran a few more numbers on this. And, to be quite honest, we are not having a gangbuster spring, and everybody's got to realize that. Now Ashburn is up 13%, and Oak Hill is up 9%, which is proven because they're really strong markets. But Vienna's up 22%. So the sales in Vienna from this time last year, from January 1 to April 1, are off 22%. Well, why is that important? Well, you need to know whether you're in a good market or a bad market because that affects your pricing and where you're going to be in the market. With that said, put some houses on in Vienna, they sell right away. But if you put a house on in Vienna and it's overpriced, it's just going to sit. It's not a strong enough market to buy a house that's not well priced. So here's a rundown. Vienna's down 22%. Fairfax County as a whole for the first 3 months is down 3%. Loudoun County down 3%. Prince William County down 3%. Looks like there's a trend. Arlington County is down 4%. Some of this has to do with inventory, not having a lot of inventory, and that's what may cause these down numbers. But I think a lot of it is just smart buyers, and I do believe that there's an instability in the market right now, and whether it's a Trump effect, or whether people are confident or not confident, whether the stock market's going up or going down, whether they think that we're going to get in a war with North Korea or not, the markets don't like instability. And so, this shock and awe kind of way of running things, I think it's having just a little bit of effect on the market. And that shows where the luxury home market is down. McLean is down 10%. And as I said, Vienna's down 22%, but it's over $1 million that are really down. So, we have to be cognizant of where the market is at that time, okay? So condition and market. Now we've got everything coming out in spring. You have to be aware that a lot of people put their houses on after Easter. So now, as I always say, when the flowers come out, so do the listings. So a lot of people now start putting their houses on the market. We have a lot of coming soons we're going to talk about today before they get on the market. So, in a gist, that's the way the spring market is. Be careful, be cautious, make sure you price it right. Now let's talk about the pricing. Condition is one thing, and I never like to spend $1 unless I get $5 back. But we got to have houses in good condition. Let's talk a minute about the pricing aspect of this. So there's a thing called bottom-up pricing, which is really, really kind of critical now. And the way, I guess, agents used to do it was they would have, they'd put a higher price, give you some wiggle room. They knew it was going to sit on the market for a little while, and it is what it is. Not so today. This little girl over here, Julie, takes our listings, packages them up, builds a movie around them, sends them out on social media, gets targets and boosts these listings to very targeted audiences. What was the name of that thing, the big deal? Cambridge Analytics or something like that? Saying how they took information, gave it, and gave our information out. Well, we basically do that every day. So Julie will take a listing and we'll have a meeting about it and say, the buyers of this house are 32 to 38. They're coming down the Arlington corridor. They're pretty much moving up. We know what kind of money they're going to make. We know how old they are. We know whether we're targeting females or males. So we do that. And when we take that ad, we boost it to a certain audience. Now, if you just throw an ad up on the internet, you have a certain click rate. But when you boost it to a targeted market, then you get 20 times that boost rate, or that organic rate. So instead of 100 people seeing it, 2,000 people will open it because you've targeted exactly your buyers. And that's what drives 40, 50, 60 people to this one house. So even though I'll take credit for pricing and the agent will take credit for doing the open house and getting contracts in, it's the little girl over here that's driving all of the traffic to these sites. So anyways, let's talk about it. We were at bottom-up pricing. How do we do it? What's the key to our success on doing it? How did we do $100 million last year? This is not a bragging thing. This is a technical thing. Did $100 million in business last year, and we listed our properties at 100.1% of what they sold for. So because, I'll tell you why, because Billy and I are fanatics on pricing houses. And so there's 3 ways you look at when you price a house. The first thing you do is you get all of the websites, all of them. We use 5. We use Realtor Property Resource. We use Realtor.com, Zillow, Trulia, and HomeSnap. So we look at those. Now, they can be off by 10% or 15% of each other. One could be 790, the other could be 890. So it's not strange. In fact, it's common that they're that big a spread. So if you have a buyer that's looking at 790, you have to point out that, hey, there's some out there that's saying 880. So we need to know that. I need to know what the buyers and agents are thinking. Not that they're true, but we need to know what they're thinking. The other thing is you have a tax assessor, a county tax assessor. He's going to assess your house. And normally, in most areas, your house is worth about 108%, if it's on average, customary, 108% of what your assessment says it's worth. That's 2017. Now, 2018s are coming out. That needs to be readjusted. So you have what the websites say, you have what the county assessor says, and then you have what we say. Now, why is what we say more accurate than what they say? Well, 35 years of experience on knowing what's important and how pricing goes in. So let's take a look at what we do. We have a model, and the first thing you need to do is, all these houses are unique. So you look at a house, it's like you don't have 3 comparables within 2 blocks that sold within 3 months. It's just not there. So what you have to be able to do is you need to take a house over here that's a lot bigger, a lot newer, a lot blah, 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 but different lot, and compare your house to that one. Be able to efficiently compare your house to homes that don't meet the appraisal criteria, okay? And the way we do that is there are, as a house, let's take a 2,400 square foot house versus a 300 square foot house. Well, a bigger house has a smaller price per square foot than this house. So what you need to do is you need to be able to say, well, if this house sold at X square footage, if you compare it to a house that's 80% the size, what is the factor that would tell you what that square footage of that house is? Therefore, instead of not having a comparable, that's a perfect comparable. So what we have is we have these algorithms that we've developed that will take a bigger house and let you compare it to a smaller house. Boom. And it's extremely accurate. And then we also have one that, if the average house that's selling is from 1974 and your house is 1989, how can you adjust for age? We have an algorithm for that too. The other one is, what happens if you have a house that has 9,000 or 10,000 square feet versus a house that has 18,000 square feet? I have an algorithm for that. So what you do is you can take a house that you want to compare to your house, and even though it's too big, you can make that happen. Even though it's older, you can still make that happen. So what happens is, instead of having one comp or two comps, you now can have 10 comps that will steer you in the right direction. So it's taken years and years to develop, but and it's simple to do. We put it in there, and all the algorithms work for us. And then it's good old Kentucky windage. We go out and we look at that house, and we compare it to the other houses in that price range. And once we've done what's called a threshold test, where let's say we think it's 860, we'll compare it to everybody over 850, then we'll compare it to everybody under 850. And that'll tell us really where we should be. And that's based on upgrades, condition, lot, location, size, age. All these things are considered. The closer a house is to you, the better. So, that kind of detail and attention to detail, and not just accepting a number off the internet, is why we can correctly predict what the price of these houses are going to be. So we can accurately say, let me give you an example, that this house is going to appraise at $850,000, there's no doubt about it. And put it on the market, before you know it, you're up at $875,000, $900,000, okay? Now, if that house appraises for $850,000 and you were listing it for $900,000 and you got $890,000, but it only appraises for $850,000, you get the $850,000. You don't get the $890,000, you get the $850,000. So that's why it's important to understand the concept of bottom-up pricing, okay? Houses are currently selling $25,000 more than they're appraising for, okay? Let me say that again. Just had a seller lose $10,000 because we said it's going to appraise for X. We need to put it at X. It's going to sell for Y, but it's going to appraise for X. So we put it on for Y. It got Y plus $10,000. It appraised for X. Had to give it all back. Had to give all that money back. I mean, that could be $30,000 or $40,000. Now we negotiated it back and so we only lost 10, but we lost 10,000. So if you put it on for X, who cares about Y? The market will determine where Y is. But X is where we can prove what the property is worth. It does us no good to get more if we're going to lose it once the appraisal comes in. So I'm just telling everybody, homes are going to appraise for $25,000 less. Let's say if $750,000, $800,000 our house, they're going to appraise for $25,000 less than they will sell for. So you look for, the final thing you do when you're pricing is you look at these thresholds, okay? 500, 525, 550, 575, 600. So these are, there are major and minor thresholds. The major threshold is at the $100,000 mark and the $50,000 mark. And the reason for that is most people will come in and say, give me everything under 600, give me everything under 500, or give me everything under 650. They don't usually go 625 or 675. It's 600, 650, 700. So those are the major thresholds that we try and stay under. So let's say, all things considered, everything we do, we think a house is worth $660,000. We go for 650. If I think I can get an appraisal for 650, I'm going to 650. If I think I can only appraise it for 625, I'm going off 625. Or at least I'm going to advise you. You can do a bigger number, but I'm telling you, you take a risk of losing the money. Now, here's how we keep that money. So let's just say we list for Let's take that one example, 850. And I know we can appraise for 850. And let's say we get 900, okay? Well, when the winner wins the contract, we change the language that says the appraisal must come in at the list price, not the sales price, okay? So if you do list price, not sales price, then all we got to do is appraise for $850,000, not $890 where the contract is, or $900 where the contract is. So, that's called bottom-up pricing. It's extremely effective. And, here's I'll give you some advice. So we'll do 10 or 12 or 15 or these days maybe 16 listings in a month. The people that go the bottom-up pricing always win. And the people that go bottom-down pricing always lose. And it's just extremely consistent. So whether it's us that are listing your house or somebody else that's listing your house, be very thoughtful of where that price is and understand that it's not what the buyer will pay, it's what the appraisal will appraise for. And that's why it's so effective that I need to know what exactly is this house going to appraise for, and then we can make our recommendation based on that and thresholds. So, and Pat threw out a question, is when you're negotiating a contract, okay, and again, we do a lot of them, so we're pretty locked in on how we negotiate our contracts. There's a thing called an escalation clause and a thing called highest and best offer. So if I have 6 contracts, I will ask for highest and best offers, no escalation clauses. Now, sometimes that ticks off agents because what a buyer wants to do, let's go back to the 850. A buyer will come in and go, I'll give you 850 plus 2,000 more than the next highest contract. But what that does is it encourages everybody to come in that 850 land. So the highest contract you're going to get are 855. So the highest contract you're going to get with these escalation clauses may be 2,000 over 855, 857. If you say highest and best bid and people are closing their eyes and they just have to pick the highest number, they're coming in at 900, 885, 900, or 915. But that won't go on record for a few weeks. So could be 915. So highest and best offer. Anybody that says, if you're picking a realtor or deciding on a realtor to list your home with, ask them, do you do escalation clauses? If they say, oh yeah, you need another agent. You need to find an agent that does highest and best offers because that's the only way. Let me give you a perfect example of an email that we had. Guy sends in, we're at 750 house, 755 offers. Guy sends in the thing, 755. Already have 4 755s. He says escalation, 2,000 above to a certain number. The email goes back from me, no escalation clause, highest and best offer, Monday by 5 o'clock. Within 30 minutes, he says 790. Now, he was at 755. He said 790, all cash, no contingencies. Deal. We'll take it. Now, that's the difference. So that seller would have had a 757 with a home inspection, or now they have 790, no home inspection, no appraisal, no financing because it was all cash. So what's the difference of going escalation clause? And I don't care how many people argue with me about this. Argue all you want. If you say highest and best offer, you get the highest and best offer. And that could be substantially $20,000, $30,000, $40,000 over any other offer. I had one lady bid on a highest and best offer, bid $42,000 over herself. And there was no other contracts. I just said, I need your highest and best offer Monday at 5 o'clock. She assumed there was other contracts. She bid up $42,000 over her original offer. She was the only one. And unfortunately, they sold it, 3 years later for, instead of $875, they bought it for $917. She sold a couple years later for $865,000. So that's really what it was worth. So she really did bid $42,000 over what the house was worth. So when we're doing, and thanks Pat for bringing that up, I appreciate that. The skill of negotiating these contracts is, again, what you hire your agents for, is getting that, not just, again, we'll go back to Seinfeld, it's not just getting the big number, it's keeping the big number. So the key is keeping the big number, okay? And then moving on, and the good thing about that as well is when you have multiple contracts, another benefit of this bottom-up thing, And remind me to talk about security too, because I really do want to talk about that. That's a big deal that Danny did yesterday. We're going to have, you'll see on our site this thing about security that Julie did, and you'll see a St. Bernard, the head of a St. Bernard dog, okay? Now, the reason why this is significant, the reason why this really resonates with me is there are a lot of wolves out there. Now, a seller sells their house once every 20 years, okay? So they're not, that's not what they do for a profession. They're very good at doing what they do. And they're not professionals at selling house, so you have to protect them, okay? So there are wolves out there, and the wolves are, some agent is going to tell them that their house is worth $50,000 more than it's worth. It's going to sit on the market for 6 months. It's going to withdraw, and they're going to go through a nightmare. That's a wolf, okay? An appraiser is a wolf. An appraiser is trying to extort money from a seller to, you know, that's his job. That's a lot of appraisers now think their job is to extort money from sellers. You need a new roof. I got a new roof. I was sitting at the Vienna Inn having lunch one day, and a home inspector was there, and he was bragging about the fact that he got his buyers a new roof. And Vienna Inn is no place to have that conversation, but really angered me because that's really the way they think, what they're trying to get for their buyers. So a home inspector is a wolf. An appraiser is a wolf. Nice wolf, but he's a wolf, okay? And a wolf is somebody that's going to harm the seller. It's going to harm your sheep, the seller. So I consider myself not a sheepdog, but more of a German shepherd in making sure that we're protecting our seller as we go through this whole process. But let's talk about the bottom-up pricing. One of the benefits is you have multiple contracts. So we're going to run into a wolf, and the wolf is a home inspector. So the home inspector comes in, and he gave me 115 items on a home inspection report. So I looked at the selling agent. I said, well, how many of these you want us to fix? And he says, all of them. I said, you want me to fix 115 items on this house? He said, yeah. I said, I'll tell you what we're going to do. We're going to fix 3 items because they're all broke, and they're electrical, and I'm going to get an electrician in and fix these things anyways because now I have to disclose them, and I'm not going to fix anything else. He said, you're not going to fix anything else? I said, no, I'm not going to fix anything else. We're not going to fix anything else. So he said, why? I said, because I'm going to contract number 2, 3, 4, and 5, and I'm just going to kick you out, and I'm going to go to them and see if they'll take it, because they really want the house. And he said, and he thought for a second, he looked at me and goes, so you'll fix those 3 items, son? I said, yeah. He said, okay, we'll take it. So we negotiated 112 items off a home inspection report because we had multiple contracts. You know, is bottom-up pricing good? And again, we'll meet with a lot of sellers, and, you know, most will choose to go that direction. Those that do win, those that don't lose. So I can just share with, you know, sit around, have a cup of coffee, and share with you what's happening out there in the minefields, as we like to call it. So let's talk about security, okay? I was a Marine, former Marine, and White House, Honor Guard, all that stuff, silent drill team. But so security has always been a big deal with me when we talk about securing these homes. But Danny threw something out yesterday that actually floored me, and it just pisses me off when he thinks of something that I don't think of. You know, brothers can be a little competitive. But so here's the deal. Every house we list, they're going to run a title bring down on that house. Now, how does that really, so as a part of our security systems for our sellers, how does that really help a seller? Well, let's say that your parents died, you're selling off the house, it's an estate sale. Something could come up that at the last minute, death certificates, trust documents, unrecorded deeds of trust. Let me give you an example. Let's say you own a house for 25 years and really nothing's ever been put on it. So you're safe and you're going to settlement, okay? What happens when you bought the house if they didn't release the deed of trust that was currently on that house? Well, we have a title issue and a title problem. Now, can it be fixed? It can be fixed. It'll take a little time, but it can be fixed. And the settlement companies do that. We don't do that. They do that. But we don't know about it usually until 2 weeks before settlement. So, you know, that is a very tense time. So what Danny's done and is doing is they're going to run a title search on every listing done at Samson Properties. So we may list 350 houses a month. They're going to do a title bring down on every single house. If there's a flag, 1 out of 10, but you might be the 1 out of 10. There's a flag that we need to address, we need to deal with, and we have 45 days or 60 days to do that as opposed to a week. So I thought that was brilliant. And to take on the expense of doing that for every single listing we have, that's a big deal. So while we're on the security issues, let's look at some of the other ways we protect. When you list a house, most realtors, we provide a home warranty on the house. So the house is covered on home warranty. So if anything breaks or goes wrong, we have that. You have the title searches being done. You have the pricing protects us from the home inspectors. You have the pricing protects us from the appraiser. The multiple contracts protect us from the inspectors. We do a security check before we go in. We use the electronic lock boxes, so we know who's in and who's out. We can kind of keep tabs on everything. But I do a security check before we do that, make sure we have no guns, drugs, electronics, jewelry, something people can get in or break, something very valuable. And my favorite one is the house that I told you that I sold for $875, eventually sold for $917. It was for a Navy captain. And he said, I don't need a Marine to secure my house. I said, I know. I do it just in case. I swear the first cabinet I opened, 2 bottles of OxyContin. I said, this is what I'm talking about. It's just these kind of drugs that you have in your house or weapons you may have in your house that are sometimes not secured. I opened up one drawer and there was a Glock loaded right at an open house. Glock was loaded. So you want to make sure that the house is secure before we do it. All the locks are working, all the locks, I'm from Vienna and in Vienna when you list a house, a lot of people don't even lock the doors. You got to put a lock on there to figure out how to lock the door. So that's just one way to secure the house before you before we list it and before we let it out to everybody. So anyways, that's a couple of the things that we're dealing with in the spring, okay? If we list and we list right, and we list at the right price, we're in a good condition, everybody just stand back, just let 40 or 50 people come through, take the weekend off, get out of the house, let us have the house for the weekend. Friday, Saturday showing, Sunday open house, contracts on Monday, get everybody to bid on it, highest and best price, boom, we're done. Get rid of the home inspection and kind of not bluff them, not bluff buyers, but, yeah, it might be in some cases not a threat, not a bluff, just getting the buyers to come up with their highest and best offer and the best terms for the seller. To have somebody say the home inspection is for informational purposes only is not a huge benefit. They're still contingent on a home inspection. They can still walk after the home inspection. And then we will discuss coming soon and selling before the coming soon because that's really important. I forgot my train of thought where I was going with that. I don't do that very often. I'll have a drink of water. But so let's talk about coming soons because these houses really do come on the market and they fly. Okay, so Julie, I think we have up on one of the screens, don't we? Yeah, these are our coming soons. So can you come up to a house and say, hey, I love this house on Friday and try and get a contract in? And the answer is no, you can't because it's got to go through the open house process. The house that came out at $915 and went off at $850, people were saying, we'll give you $865 all cash. And if you don't take it, we're going to withdraw it. If you go to the open house, we're going to withdraw the contract. And we get this every week. And they threaten the listing agent. If you are a buyer or a buyer agent, never threaten a listing agent that's going to get 20 contracts or 5 contracts. Just be nice and figure out, what the sellers want and try and accommodate the sellers as much as you can. Listing agents want to work with selling agents that they can deal with, that are not trying to muscle them all over the place. They're just trying to have an efficient professional transaction. So So coming in and making demands right out of the gate, don't do that. Don't let your agents do that. Those contracts get thrown in the trash can. And if it's a contest between 3 contracts, trust me, that listing agent is going to work with the agent who's the most professional, most experienced, biggest down payment, obviously the best price. But if you're close on pricing and this agent is the professional agent, you'll literally look at that agent and go, hey, man, can you match that price? Because if you can, your contract is all in all better because the quality of the agent, the down payment of the buyer. So I would not alienate the listing agents if I were you. So with that, I'm going to tell you that you have the coming soons that come out, and it just lets you get a kind of an advance notice and look at it. I will be honest with you. Some will come right to Billy or Colby or Pam or Shana or one of our agents and say, hey, can we put a contract through you? It is true. You would rather work with one of your own team members because it just makes the whole process easier. And buyers do get a point back when they do that. So you can go right to a selling agent or right to the listing agent. And, you have to be experienced. It can't be your first home. If it's your first home, we couldn't take on that responsibility. But if you're a seasoned person and you know what you're doing, then you can go through the listing agent and have one of our alt agents, write the contract. There's a better chance you get the deal. There is a better, opportunity. It's going to be a smoother transaction. Sometimes you have a listing or a selling agent. They're trying to prove their value and, muscle through a home inspection. And sometimes that just kind of muddies up a transaction. There's no need for that. We can all be professional at it. So anyways, with that said, you want to look to a big team and say, what kind of inventory do you have coming out? What's coming out? So we have 20 homes that are getting teed up and getting ready to come on the market. You got a 775 that is coming on in the Wolf Trap School District. It is a phenomenal house. Got $100,000 plus worth of upgrades. So if anybody's looking in Vienna in that 750, 775, $800,000 price range, I think the number may get to 800, but it's going off at 775, and that is in the Wolf Trap School District. That's awesome. The It House in Vienna is coming on the market. It's got a coming soon sign on it. It's at 322 Air Hill. Now, Air Hill is one of those premium streets in Vienna that is an it street. You have Spring Street, Air Hill, you have Druid Hill and Nelson Drive. Those are all big lots, big houses. Those are places you can put a $2 million house. Tommy Stotts has built some incredible homes on that 300 block of Air Hill. One of them is coming on the market next week. Is that next week? So that'll be whatever that is, April something, next Thursday. We're going to do an open house. It's not open to the public. It's only private open house. It's a $1.85 million house. It is a masterpiece. Go on, and Julie will have the website up, you think, probably within a week. Go to 322airhill.com and check out, that's 1 week. Give her 1 week. I'm telling you, that's the prettiest house you're ever going to see. Tommy Stotts, it's a masterpiece. It backs to Glendon Park. You've got a nice sitting room that looks out. So anyways, that's going to be phenomenal. There's also an It House coming on the market on Hillcrest, and it's the 600 block of Hillcrest. I think it's 605, or I think it's 605 Hillcrest. 605 Hillcrest. So this is built by Pat Stack. It's a monster. It's a big boy. It's like a 5,000 square foot house. It's a $1.75 million house. Vienna Elementary School District. Big boy, big yard. It is a cool, really, really cool coming soon house. So you can look for that. The sign should be up today or tomorrow. It should be up today or tomorrow. But I would say that Hillcrest is one of those it streets too, right behind Air Hill and Spring Street and all of that. So that's coming up. You got an 850 coming up in Vienna. That's on a road called Addison. And Addison is back in that Talahai Road area back there. It's $850,000. The guy did a bunch of modifications on it. Is it an acre lot or half acre lot? It's a big lot. It's a beautiful lot. So that whole road back there is getting kind of new homes back because the lots are big and they're beautiful. But that's old school Vienna back there. So that's on Addison. That's 850. Is that open this week? Okay. So Addison is launching. Is St. Boniface launching? Okay. So St. Boniface is launching, and if it's at 1832 St. Boniface That's the 775. That's launching. That's a bad house. I mean, that's an awesome house, especially if you have young kids. And it's got a great yard. If you have young kids and you're trying to get into the Wolf Trap School District, which is one of the best in Vienna, and 775 is a great fair number. That's a good one. And you can call Billy on St. Boniface. You can call Billy on the Air Hill. Addison, you can call Colby, or just call me on that. I'll handle that for now. Kinross. I'm telling you this, and they'll never get it back. There's a house going on for $725 in Franklin Farms, Chantilly Highlands. So Kinross Circle in Chantilly Highlands at 3148. Now this is $725. This is one of those that's going to be a fight at the bat rack. It's a perfect price. It'll go for maybe $750. It'll appraise for $725. But he has dumped a ton of money in this house as well. They have dumped a ton of money. And that's a really, really nice house. Huh? Yeah, that is good updates. The pictures come out good? Yeah, I'm telling you. Wait till you see the kitchen on this thing. They spent like $50,000 in this kitchen. And they've got a big screen porch. And they did put a brand new bathroom in there. So I'm telling you, what you want to do is get out ahead of the curve and say, hey, what do you have coming up in a certain area? Because we'll launch 20 listings in the next 30, 40 days. So you know, and I guess if you call me, I can put you in touch with the alt agents for each one of these houses and then keep you on the watch list. Spring House, Little Rocky Run, we have one coming on for $599, either $599 or $625. That's a great one. What else we got? Oh, great. Oh, the 850 that sold for $915. The next door neighbor is working with us now. It's a smaller house. It's $750 is what we're putting it on. That's coming out. Huh? It's cute, isn't it? Yeah. Well, ex-Marines can't say cute. You know what I mean? I can't say, oh, this is really pretty. Yeah, I know. I got a couple of daughters, and Carol's like, well, isn't that pretty? It's like, hey, man, Marines don't say pretty. But anyways, it's a really nice little house. And the good thing about it is, first of all, it's in that Haycock School District, and it has got a massive backyard. So that's what sells some of these houses. That's in Falls Church. Great location on that one. Hillcrest, Terry Lane, new house in Falls Church coming on the market. And then we've got, look, sometimes, you know, these houses sit around and then the prices drop and people forget about them. They become these great buys. There's one on Park Street, 600 Park Street. Now, 3 bedrooms up, I get it. It's got a functional issue. You walk downtown. And now the price is to the point where it's like, it's a steal because the lot itself is worth $800,000. So it's on for $1,049,000. That's an incredible house too. Stryker has a contract, by the way. Willow Glen. Now here's what I tell my buyers when we're walking out with a buyer, we look for houses that have been on for a while. So it was put on for $725, and really, if it had gone out for $699, we would have had a really big boost, and it probably would have got to $725. But because they went over the $725 threshold and wouldn't go back, it sat there and got stale. Now it's $699. Well, this is an incredible house. It's a half-acre lot with travertine patio in the back, this nice stone fireplace. I think it's an incredible opportunity because normally you see one of these houses come on, they price it under the level, everybody comes out and you lose the deal. Go back and find houses that have been on for a little while that are really good houses. It's just they were overpriced originally. Go ahead and catch them now at that price. Although I think that might have a contract now, but that's why you get in touch with somebody like Pam and Shana and they'll know, you know, to look for houses like that. But that's at 12811 Willow Glen. That's a bad house. Bennett is still, if somebody's looking for like a Mediterranean looking house, Bennett Road is, if you go to 12212bennett.com, you will see one of the cool, they have a putting thing in their backyard. They have a pool. They have all sorts of cool stuff. They've got one of the best kitchens you're ever going to see on the planet. So that's good. And another one I want to bring to everybody's attention is Carr Hill. Carr Hill is a 950. It is in that Carr Hill subdivision down Lawyers Road. It's got an acre of land. It's got a big deck on the back, you know, screened-in porch. It's got the nice kitchen. Hillary Stotts came in and redid the house. It looks phenomenal. So that's another one you might want to keep an eye on. The Car Hill for $995, and if you're looking in Vienna, the 774 on St. Boniface is going to be awesome. So is Addison. I think both those are one and done. Kinross is going to be a fight at the Bat Rack. Air Hill is, when that comes on the market, that's an it house. And Springhouse Circle and that Little Rocky Run is going to be a good one too. So all of these people are lining up the houses, getting ready to come on. Huh? Oh yeah, that Ashburn one. That's the best one. I don't know that we got the listing agreement signed. She said she's signing it, and I can't say anything until she signs it. But I'm going to tell you what, we got one coming on in Ashburn, which is the hottest market. I think the last one was one of those 50 people, that one up there, that one up in the upper corner right there. Cross Timber had, no, that's not Cross Timber. That's, I don't know. I don't remember. But that house right there had 50 people come through, had 6 contracts on it, and that went $25,000, $30,000 over list price. This one's better. This is the best interior house that I've seen in Ashburn. The model opens up, cathedral ceilings, beautiful kitchen. They spent a ton of money on this house. They're never going to get it back. They have a couple boys in there, but you'd never know there were boys in this house. The basement is phenomenal. Really one of the prettiest houses. Did I just say pretty? Didn't I say I don't say pretty? I don't say cute, but I can say pretty. It's funny, you get out of your car and you look at a house and you're like, yeah, man, yeah, I want this one. And when you walk up and look at the front of a house, you know what's inside. You just know it. You know whether you got a winner or not from the outside. So this house coming on the market in Ashburn is a winner. And you definitely want to talk to Pam and Shayna about getting in to see that either before we go on or at least be there. Again, we still have to go through the open house. We have to go through all that stuff, and hopefully people, we'll see what happens when they do it. But having Pam and Shayna on your side is a huge benefit. If you don't have know who any of these people are, all you have to do is call me. I'll put you in touch with whoever it is, okay? So you can get lined up. But if you were a buyer, it's time to get ready when these things launch. It's time to get moving. Get that thing, First of all, here's the first thing I would do if I was a buyer. I'm going back to the old houses. I'm going back to Park Street. I'm going back to Bennett. I'm going back to some of the houses that have been on the market for a little while, Willow Glen. That's where your first deals are. Your first deals are the ones that they may have put on a little too high, missed a threshold, a critical threshold, and the buyers, like I said, they're smart as a whip, man. I'm telling you, these buyers are smart. They waited. Well, now it's down, and once they drop it, that's where I would go. If I'm a buyer, I'm looking at the houses that have 100 days on market. They didn't price it right in the beginning. I'm going to go get them first. Why? Because I'm not competing with 20 other people or 50 other people. So that's my first stop is the backfill inventory. Then I will work towards whatever's coming on the market. But anyways, you want to have a good buyer agent when you're doing that. And you need to make sure they're experienced. Just so you know, so I'm a listing agent, and my job is to get the best deal for the seller, right? All our job is. I mean, we're, real estate agents. So part of that criteria we look for is a good selling agent, an experienced selling agent. I mean, the first thing I do, and I train all of our agents, they go on and say, this agent's only done 1 deal, this agent's done 40 deals. I'd really rather work with one that does 40 deals. Why? Because they expect all this stuff. A new agent, if they look at a home inspection report, will say, oh my God, I can't believe all this stuff's wrong with this house. It's just 40 items. Every house has 40 items. I mean, the guy's not doing his job unless he pulls out 40 items. So an experienced agent will say, look, he's going to pull out 40 items. We'll pull out what's really important, and then we'll use those. That's what we know the experienced agents do. So we're really looking to work with experienced agents. So if you buyers are not working with an experienced agent, you need to be thoughtful about who you're working with. You can't just grab aunt or uncle or sister or brother or somebody that doesn't do a lot of experience and put a contract in against, because you're competing with other contracts, competing. Now, let me give you a tip. If you really want to go after a contract and want to differentiate yourself from all these other contracts, do two things. One, write a letter to the seller. That does tug on the heartstrings of the sellers. They do want somebody that's very nice moving into their house, okay? That's the first thing you want to do. Second thing you want to do is give a home inspector a couple $100 to come out on the Monday before the contracts are due. In other words, go out and see the house. I really like this house. I want to put a contract in. Pay a couple $100 to a contractor, to a home inspector. Have him walk the house with you on Monday afternoon, okay? Then on Monday morning, on Monday afternoon, submit your contract without a home inspection. If you could submit without a home inspection, I guarantee you that'll move you right to the top. It's happened to us 3 or 4 times. Every time, we'll move that contract right to the top. Say, hey man, you gotta hit 745. That's the number. Okay, we can do it. All right, let's go. They win. So if they're willing to invest their time and energy and protect my sellers from a home inspection, they got my attention. So you might want to think about that as your little, kind of what you would offer the seller. Other things you can offer them, obviously, is, you can do rent backs and all. But, to be honest with you, I think the most important thing about all this is removing that dang home inspection, okay? Now, you also need to look at people that have, more cash to put down, because if the appraisal does come in at $25,000 less than the contract is for, you need to be able to put up that extra money. Don't get freaked out. The spring prices are higher than the winter prices, but that appraisal is going to come down and bite you if you're not careful. Some appraisers are very cool and understand and will get that number. Some are not. If you run into one that's not, you're going to lose $10,000, $15,000, $20,000 unless you do it right, okay? So let's just make sure we do it right, all right? What else do we have, Julie? Anything that I've missed? Anything on my list before I let everybody go? What? I'm good? All right, guys, that's it for today. I appreciate everybody for tuning in. Thank you to Julie for being the backbone of our team. A send-off to Miss Billy. Billy Brady was with Samson for how many years? 13 years. Awesome. She was phenomenal. What a professional she was. So Miss Billy is gone now, so goodbye, Miss Billy. We appreciate all your effort and time making the team a more professional place. Leslie, and let me just say that while we're doing this thank you thing, so you bring in somebody like Leslie, who's a professional, who you want to see the cameras that are, I know I don't look any better, but the cameras are nicer, okay? And she does so much of this technical stuff for Samson Properties in our films that allow us to do this. It's really great, what you do for the company, Leslie. We really appreciate that. And to Madonna, that brought me in my office yesterday and went like this. She gave me the figure. She goes, come with me. So I said, yeah, what's the matter? She goes, come in here. So she used to, and the one good thing about a company that's got 1,900 agents is they all had professions, some of them before they were realtors. She was a professional at doing this kind of filming of generals at the Pentagon or headquarters or whatever. And she goes, you look awful. What do you mean I look awful? Your posture's not good. And the way I framed the pictures back, she was awesome. She lit me up. And so she said that, your guy that was in here was slumping down and you never corrected him and made him sit up. And so she was really funny. You could tell she'd been working with generals for a long time. So Madonna, thank you very much for your advice. I really appreciate it. And again, to all our team, it's a very busy time. And let me tell you, Pat, Kelly, Colby, Pam, and Shayna are so damn professional that when they're dealing with these contracts and we're dealing with appraisers and we're dealing with all this stuff, our deals are going so smooth and so nice that I appreciate all the work you guys are doing. I know it's really a tough time, and the backbone too of our marketing group and person that's working with Julie and getting out all these newsletters and all. Michelle, all these beautiful things that come out from our team too. Michelle is amazing. So the emails that you get, sometimes she's behind a lot of that. So anyways, I really do want to thank the team. I know there's a lot of stress, but let me tell you something. in any team that you have, I run this like our football team. As long as everybody knows what they're doing and they're professionals at what they're doing, everything runs smooth. And actually, we're running at maximum, level of what we can do, and everything's going pretty dang smooth. So thanks, Julie. I appreciate you. I know you're ripping your hair out, but appreciate all the effort. All right, guys, we'll see you next month on Coffee with Casey. If you have any issues, listings, buyers, you can call me, 703-508-2535. Or send me an email, because I'm going to be at the Nats game, and I will not be answering my phone during opening day, at casey@caseysamson.com. You can check out all of our stuff, Coffee with Casey, all of our previous editions at caseysamson.com. All right, guys, we'll see you next month. Thank you. Thanks, Leslie.